Imagine severe weather hitting your country so bad that it leads to outages across the power grid. And now imagine being the architect on the hook to design the architecture to help deal with the fallout of all of that. That is the exact scenario that we're going to be solving in today's episode of Think Like an Architect, where we will be designing a high-scale multi-cloud incident journey. My name is Miriam McCabe. I lead the architect evangelism team at Salesforce, and I'm also a Salesforce certified technical architect. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing this alone. I'll be helped by all of you here. And I have two experts with me today, Scott Ratliff and Kunal Modi. I'm super excited to have you here, guys. These are experts across all the Salesforce products that we'll be using to solve this challenge. And why don't you introduce yourselves to the group here? Starting with you, Scott.
Hi, thanks, Miriam. Thanks for having me back, actually. This is a fun little streaming series we got going here. So I'm Scott Ratliff. I'm a principal architect evangelist now. The first time I wasn't. Part of Miriam's team, actually. And my specializations are in MuleSoft and Agentforce. And I've been at Salesforce for 7.5 years. Over you, Kunal.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be part of this session. I'm Kunal Modi, Senior Solution Architect. Been in Salesforce for close to 9 years now, and I've worked into marketing domains, data, and that's basically my expertise. And happy to be participating in first of my live streaming session.
Awesome, and I'm really super glad to have both of you here. So we'll be hearing a lot from you, and folks in the live stream, in the chat. Don't forget to ask your questions. These experts have a lot of goodness to share with you. And with that, let me bring it into a bit of a preamble. So Think Like an Architect, episode number 3, design a high-scale multi-cloud incident journey. And before I say anything else, please remember to make your purchasing decisions based on generally available products and services. And with that out of the way, be sure to RSVP for the next episode of Think Like an Architect, where we will be going into the architecture behind the Mr. Beast challenge. This is going to be a good one. So RSVP on the link that you see there and in the chat. And with that, I'm going to start with a short introduction around the 3-step approach, the what, how, why approach. Then we'll tackle the challenge that I just introduced around weather-related outages, using that approach as I live diagram the solution so that everybody can follow along in the thinking steps. And then throughout the episode, you'll be able to interact with each other and the experts in the chat, ask your questions, find out about the solution, and also about the approach. And with that, let's get into the approach. So the 3-step approach, these are the thinking steps that I tackle any architectural problem with. And it starts with the what. And this is arguably the most important step because this is where we understand what the requirement is. As part of the approach, what I'll do is I'll take a business requirement, I'll highlight key phrases and words from it, and use those highlighted sections to create high-level requirements. And then in the how step, I'll take those high-level requirements and align solutions to them to solve those requirements, all the while taking notes of any questions, assumptions, limitations, and also decisions that I'm taking, and drawing out the solution in a diagram. Now, in the why step, we'll take all of those notes that I took in the how step so that we can use it to justify a design decision later on as part of architectural decision recording. And with that, let's get into it. This is the business requirement, and so I'll walk you through it and highlight key sections of it right now. Starting with the first sentence, when unplanned weather-related outages to the electricity grid occur, we need to instantly identify automated, personalized notifications based on real-time SCADA data. Sorry, I think I skipped a sentence here, but I'll highlight it anyway. So I'm going to say it's unplanned. Thing number 1, there are going to be outages, and we need to identify affected parties from multiple legacy systems, and then use that information to trigger automated, personalized notifications based on real-time SCADA data. And at this moment, I'm just going to assume that SCADA is a type of system. Now, the next sentence, incidents need to be logged granularly, allowing two-way communications with customers via various channels, including WhatsApp and website, and need to be routed to the right teams. Long sentence, let's break it down. So we want incidents that need to be logged. I'm not highlighting granularly here because that feels to me like it's pushing me in a specific solution direction. I don't like that, but I do like allowing two-way communication. So I'll see in the solution how I will enable that with customers via various channels, including WhatsApp and the website. And they need to be routed to the right team. All right, and then the last sentence, customers should be kept appraised and receive coordinated context-aware engagement across the entire incident lifecycle. So kept appraised, kept up to date, and receive coordinated context-aware engagement across the entire incident lifecycle. So I feel that I've highlighted the most important parts of these business requirements now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and show you how I'm translating that in my head to these high-level requirements. And Sally, you're saying you love the series title, Think Like an Architect. This is exactly the takeaway that I would like everybody to have, right? It is, thinking like an architect is a skill set for everyone. And hopefully you'll be able to follow along. So let's have a look at high-level requirement number 1. So the first thing that this solution, this architecture needs to do is detect unplanned outages and notify Salesforce. All right. Now, the second thing, identify the affected parties across multiple legacy systems. Then number 3, send the automated personalized notifications based on that real-time SCADA data. Number 4, log the incidents, allow for two-way communication and route to the right team. And then last but not least, updates and context-aware engagement throughout the lifecycle, at least also using WhatsApp and the website. Okay, let's get into it. So the first requirement, detect unplanned outages instantly and notify Salesforce. In my mind, the first thing that I'm feeling happening is that I'm making an assumption. And the assumption that I'm making is that there is already some level of detection in place in the landscape as part of the power grid, as part of the systems that they have in place. And so without any hesitation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing that in. So I'll start with a big Salesforce org box because that is ultimately going to be an integral part of this architecture. But what I want to put in place here is a visual representation of my assumption. And that assumption is that I have a system called SCADA and that there will be some grids and sensors on in the world that will be sending status, all sorts of status messages from the grid into that system. So I've depicted that here right now. Now, the next assumption that I'm going to make is that that SCADA system is able to publish events. And the other assumption that I'm taking, this is countries, this is electricity. If it's very severe, it may well be very high volume events. And the other assumption is that it's timely. It's not really an assumption. We already talked about real time, but I'm going to add it here as well. There is a desire for low latency whenever that happens. And so for both of these, my go-to in this type of architecture would be MuleSoft. So I'm writing down MuleSoft. It could be a different middleware depending on the specific conditions. But since I have a blank sheet of paper, I'm bringing in MuleSoft here now to draw those assumptions. So bringing in MuleSoft, I'm going to draw this assumption here that SCADA can publish events. I'm going to call them status events. So now something happens, SCADA is aware of it, is able to publish an event. So far, so good. And I think we're pretty good on requirement number 1. So let's move on to the next one. I'm grouping these two together in the interest of efficiency. And so I want to now be able to identify those parties and then send them automated personalized notifications. And so the first question that comes to mind, and that is a question to me at this moment, is how to identify the affected parties. And the first assumption that I'm going to make here is that there is already some level of pre-massaging of the data that has taken place. So I'm going to say there is a unified individual in place in some way, shape, or form. And if not, because if that is not the case, that has to be a prerequisite before there is a power outage. All right, so and that's really a really important aspect here. So I'm going to assume that is in place, and I'm also going to assume that there is some way that the legacy systems that were mentioned maintain the relationship between people and whatever area of the network is impacted. So the legacy system has the relation between customers, and I'm calling it area for now. So let me just draw that into the architecture as well. So I want to bring in, on the one hand, those legacy systems, and the other thing that I'm going to bring in here is a data 360 box, because I'm going to assume that the unified individual has been kind of identified here. Unified individual. If this is not the case, and Ella already shared the link in the chat, right, to submit topics. This could be a topic for an entire episode without any doubt on how to best do that. But for the moment, I'm just going to assume that we found some way, let's say, to unify these customers either through zero copy, either through MuleSoft, just drawing that in a simplified fashion. Now, the second thing that I want to put here is that MuleSoft is going to be able to get the affected parties, let's say, from based on the areas that were affected. So from here, so I'm going to say, let's call that parties / areas, and then MuleSoft will be able to get into Data 360 to identify the individuals. All right, so let me bring that back in, because that also means that I'm going to take another decision here, and that is that MuleSoft will get the individuals there. Oh, apologies for typing. All right. So that's part of it, right? So I have the affected parties identified across the multiple systems. Now I need to send automated personalized notifications. And this is where it gets really interesting, given that we now have Data 360 in place. But I'm going to first make a couple of assumptions. The first one is that because this is an outage scenario, this is not a scenario where I'm going to be trying to sell anything to anyone. I don't need consent. But even if I did, then I was actually just going to replace this assumption based on maybe it's a different regulation, whatever, that would then be captured. So I would change this assumption to consent is captured. And I'm also going to assume that that the channel preference is captured as well. So now my next assumption is that we're going to be needing some level of marketing product. And actually that leads me to a question, because I want to know as an architect, am I going to, which marketing product do I want to use? And so in the Salesforce realm, which is where I'll be focusing, that could either be, let's say, the exact target-based marketing cloud or the new Marketing Cloud Advanced. So in my mind, as an architect thinking about scalability, future-proofness, etc., I want to use the latest technology is one assumption that I'm making here. And the other assumption also, and that again has to do with those numbers, those scalability numbers, is that this is time sensitive and I want low latency. And so for both of those reasons, we will be exploring Marketing Cloud Advanced, MCA. And so, and in that, there is something called on-demand flow, which is a transactional API way to power high volume flows. And that's what we're going to be leveraging. And so I'm going to draw that in here as well. So let me pick the marketing part of this. So what is going to happen here is once the thing happens, MuleSoft gets the data from the legacy systems, then identifies who is impacted, then it is able to actually use that on-demand flow to send those personalized messages to that group. So drawing that in here, and so that will lead to those folks receiving their personalized message. Now, in the interest of transparency, and this is also where the safe harbor statement at the end came in, at this specific moment, on-demand flow does not yet support WhatsApp. That's going to be released in a few weeks from now. And so just to satisfy my own architectural craving for completeness, if we wanted to do that today, we would use a data cloud action to trigger the flow to send the message via WhatsApp. By the time we go live, though, with this project, that will be no longer needed, and we will be able to leverage on-demand flow for this. So that kind of concludes this piece. So now I want to move to the last piece of the solution here, which is logging the incidents, two-way communication, routing to the right team, and updates and context-aware engagement throughout the life cycle. And so I'm going to start with an assumption, and that assumption is that I want to leverage out-of-the-box incident management, because I always want to leverage out-of-the-box stuff where it makes sense, and this is exactly where that has been created for. And so that also leads to the decision, and now you will see why I objected to the word granularly here. It's going to lead to the decision that I will be logging an incident for every kind of outage situation, perhaps, let's say, per area, but I will have an overarching incident. And then I will have, whenever customers reach out to learn more about that incident, that will lead to a case being created, which will then allow that two-way communication. So I'm going to say with child cases for customers reaching out. And with that, I'm going to also assume the following, which is that the incident will have the latest information. And that is actually an assumption, but it's also a hidden requirement, because it means that I will need to be able to capture not just updates, or not just the fact that there is an incident, that something is down, but also that when it comes back up, or if there is an update. So that's why I have status event here. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm seeing that as part of. Oh, no, I'm right. Sorry, I'm with myself. I hope everybody else is still following. So let me actually draw the incident management piece here. And so I didn't draw that in yet. So this is where I would start with create incident. But actually what I want to do now is I also want to be able to update it. So whenever something happens, I'm either creating a new incident if it's something new, or if it's an update, I will be updating the related incident. So that's what I've captured here. And that then make sure that I have the latest information on the incident, and it means that the MuleSoft interface can do create and update. All right, now, last but not least, as part of this solution, what I'm also going to assume is that we have such high volumes, potentially lots of customers reaching out at the same time, that we want to have Agentforce to handle the inbound volumes. And as I mentioned, whenever customers reach out, I want to have at least an action to create a case for them so that we can capture all of that interaction. And obviously, we also want that agent to be available on the various channels. So we will be setting up, say, a WhatsApp and experience channel for Agentforce. And so let me just draw that back into the architecture as well. So I have my boxes ready, putting them in here. And so that means whenever customers are reaching out with questions, Agentforce will have access to the latest information on the incident that is being kept up to date here. And it will be exposed on the experience channel and on WhatsApp. And so with that, we have a solution in place. We have captured our thinking process as well. And so this is something that we can either use as is or washed through some LLM magic as an architectural design decision record as part of the why step. And with that, I'm going to bring back our experts and see if we can get some questions and answers going. Hold on, let me actually bring you back like this, guys. So I hope you were all kind of following along, and I hope we got some good questions. I actually, before I open it up, Kunal, I just wanted to ask you, like, what can you tell us about the new flow engine that I was pretty much drawing an arrow into, right? That on-demand flow. Is there anything that you can share about that? Because I think it sounds very exciting.
Yeah, Miriam, thanks a lot for bringing me. Yeah, it's something which was very much anticipated because we with Marketing Cloud Advanced, we wanted always an on-demand flow, which can support mainly incident or transactional based time-sensitive communications, personalized communications. And the best part is that you could trigger it from an external system via REST API, and then it would help customers being reached out with more personalized communication on various channels. And we expect that in future, more and more channels and more upgrades and more features to be available as part of this flow. So this is really an exciting feature which has been released recently.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you. And so I'm looking at some of the questions, really loving them. So Sally is asking, why would we put this in the assumption rather than a question to be asked before designing? So I'm actually going to take that one because I think it's a really good one. So the way that I look at it, Sally, is that sometimes an assumption is actually just another way. It's another way to ask a question, but just in a slightly different way. It's like in a way that I'm already putting in a little bit more effort myself. So I'm kind of already posing something, but then I still want to kind of verify that with the business. So in that sense, it is also a question. So I hope that answers the question.
I can add to that too.
Yeah,
like specifically for like a MuleSoft engagement. So I've been on a bunch of them, and the problem with some of the engagements is you don't have access to the people who own the systems. So I may start out having a meeting with the stakeholders, and then I may have to make an assumption on something because I can't get a hold of the people who run the SCADA system until maybe a few days out. So I think starting with an assumption is good because then at least gives you some place to move until you can get that verification.
Awesome. Yes, that's a really good addition, Scott. Thanks. Now, I love this one. This is one I also always get a lot when, like when I was also doing like the preparation for the CTA. But it's like, during high-level design, are you considering budget constraints? So MuleSoft and MCA, it's ideal, but increasing cost. Wondering how you re-architect after knowing the budget. So I don't know. Kunal, are you comfortable? You can be honest.
No, Miriam, you can take it. Take this one.
All right. Okay, so I would say in a real life situation, I would definitely consider budget. Although I do have to say, my experience is typically coming in after the budget, like the license negotiations have been done, right? So I would typically come in and it would already be decided, for example, that we were going to use Data 360 or marketing. Scott, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you hit that one right on the head. But I think from a high level design standpoint, you're not. I don't think we're concerning ourselves too much with like API limits and stuff like that just yet, because I think we have to get an idea of like the performance and the throughput that we need to have in there. And I think as you get past that initial part, then you definitely start to think about things like, okay, what is the cost of this? And then I know from an Agentforce standpoint, there's a lot of discussions over token use, and so that definitely comes in as you get like past the high level design.
Awesome, good. So another question, I guess, more on methodology. So, and I'm actually quite interested to hear your perspective, both of your perspective on this. I have a perspective as well, which I'll share. The question is, Sally's, during high-level design, are we supposed to consider team members' skills? And I'm going to go out on a limb and pose it that we shouldn't, right? I'm going to say that skills are for hire, and so unless it depends, very specific circumstances, I would typically not do that. But curious on your take, Scott.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I agree that if you don't have the skill set, then we need to find it somewhere. And but at the long term is, after all is said and done, the support of the system belongs to the whichever the customer is and how they want to handle it. Like, to me, it's if we got a lot of new systems coming in, then and like Miriam had mentioned before, that we're usually coming in after the licensing and all that stuff has been figured out. And so I think as part of that, just in general, the customer should start to like evaluate like the team skills and strengths and then go that route. It's always difficult though, because I was having a conversation with a colleague the other day, and there's 20 different ways to do anything. And if you focus too much on what your team skills are, then you may be missing out on like the best solutions.
Yeah, and also just to add, actually, and from my experience with my recent engagement with customers, right? We are also, and I can talk especially about the Salesforce ecosystem, right? That we are focusing more on low code. So some of the elements which are there in the architecture, right? Flows, right? I've seen even the business people, the business architects picking up flows and designing the flows and everything. So is something which I've just learned, that there are skills which can be easily adopted and as part of the architecture. So we don't expect that that somebody would be really had years of experience and they are required. But yeah, of course, there would be in some area there would be need for specialized skills, but I think a lot of it can still be adopted and learned.
Great. I'm having a question. I'm seeing a question here from Walter on are all data flows bidirectional with updates back to legacy? I was taking a shortcut, Walter, so thank you for catching me out on that. But I drew all the arrows as bidirectional, just hoping nobody would notice. No, pretty much, because I can always get away with it, because there's always going to be some level of status acknowledgement back to, as part of the integration. But no, I'm in no way suggesting that there is always like data going back and forth between those two systems. So thank you for making that explicit. Now the next actually, before I get into more questions, I just want to call out a couple of comments that I just saw here, which I'm loving the conversation around, like question versus assumptions and using the high-level design to ideate. So I'm loving Squire's kind of comment here. High-level design is intended for ideation. All of the assumptions will still need to be verified. The entire design needs to be validated as well. And it's not about being right the first time, but having a recommendation to help take action on the project 100%, right? So thank you for saying that. We're trying to get to this point where, like Scott also mentioned, right, where we can come in with a point of view to be disproven and then be agile enough to change it on the fly to whatever makes sense in the moment, right? But still bringing that impression and having done that mental gymnastics to at least come with something that is going to work. There's an interesting comment also on the incident management and the cases. So I just wanted to highlight that for the group as well. So one of the aspects while using a case is that there could be a lock on respective accounts during, data skew, depending on the numbers. And so this is also why, as I was going through this, I was suggesting that we would potentially log an incident per affected area, right, rather than a single incident to cover all of the downage for the entire country, right? So that's a really good comment as well. Now, let's get back into some more questions. So this is a good one for you, Kunal, I think. So why use WhatsApp instead of Salesforce digital engagement?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, right? So first of all, if we want to understand the use case, right, it's like an incident which has happened, right? So it's like a big outbound messaging. And historically, digital engagement was more designed on, it started its journey on WhatsApp, especially on a service, whereas we need to reach out to an n number of customers in a time sensitive way. So that's why this on demand flow is the way to go. And of course, once the message especially on WhatsApp, when the messages is being sent, you still can interact because a messaging session is created and you can still interact with the customers on that. But it's more like you have an outbound broadcast kind of a case where you need to reach out to multiple customers or in an affected area. So that's something is not very suitable for a digital engagement kind of a scenario.
Okay, thank you. I have another one that we actually had when we were prepping for this as well. I think we kind of had some good arguments around like the use of MuleSoft, and why should we use MuleSoft to trigger the flow? Isn't it more efficient to do that in a different way? So Dominic here is saying, why would you connect with Marketing Cloud via MuleSoft and not, let's say, broadcast flow? So I'm kind of interested in both of your perspectives on this.
So I'll start, and Kunal, you can go next.
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, for the MuleSoft standpoint, I think to me it always comes down to what does MuleSoft do ahead of just passing through, right? And so, like as Miriam had shown in there, there's connections to legacy to get like additional information. So like just as a for instance, SCADA may not give me the area that's affected. It may just tell me that this transformer is down, and so I'll need to like orchestrate and pull in information from multiple systems before pushing to whichever end system that I'm going to. And so like from MuleSoft standpoint, that is like one of the biggest strengths, that plus the data may not be, super readable in the way that we would send it directly through. So having that data transformation capabilities makes it a good use case. No?
Yeah, I think Scott, you answered. For me, the key point is the legacy system, right? So if it was a completely Salesforce ecosystem, right, we could have all these options. But as soon as I hear if I go into any customer, as soon as I hear legacy systems, I always think of middleware, and I always need some sort of an engine which would help me orchestrate and bring the right triggers and right messages.
And so I have a comment here from Dimitri saying, the scope seems to be limited to multi-channel communication on the incident, not the other functionalities of Marketing Cloud. And I'll open that to you, Kunal. I want to say it's pretty challenging to put such a comprehensive multi-cloud solution in the space of, let's say, a 20-minute presentation. So there is so much more. If you're interested in hearing more about the other aspects of Marketing Cloud, please also share that with us in the feedback, because we do want to know if this is of interest. We'll be able to spend more time on it. And anyway, so Kunal, what do you want to say to that?
Yeah, exactly, Miriam. You have summarized right. The use case which we were looking for is to basically reach out to the customers, affected parties in a time-sensitive way. Of course, there are other aspects of marketing cloud and campaigns and email, just to also let everybody know that when we talk about this on-demand flow, it's not something that is only restricted for transactional sort of a reach out, right? You can always use even for promotions and marketing campaigns. And of course, you need to look into the org limit and governors and API limits and everything. But as Miriam said, right, our focus would be based on the use case, but of course you can do a lot of other things. And as also because we have now Marketing Cloud Advanced, which basically runs on a flow engine, right, it opens a lot of other options for us.
Yeah, cool. All right. So that's a good question, I think. Are we supposed to consider what clouds and products a team currently have? So I think there's going to be like a resonating kind of yes from all of us. Any particular thoughts we want to? Maybe what is a good strategy to understand what is already available with the customer? Scott, what are you thinking?
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is have to have like a licensing purchase just for like one use case, and so definitely consideration towards what clouds they have would guide the decision. But and some of the is MuleSoft 100% required for every integration? No, but does it make your life easier? And can you see value in bringing a product like that in for all the other things you're strategically doing at your organization? I think those are all considerations that have to be made as you go through each of the designs.
All right, awesome. Oh, no, go ahead.
Just wanted to add this, right? And I know that a lot of people from the audience, actually, and architect community know about this Marketing Cloud Advanced and also the Exact Target Marketing Cloud platform, right? So we, as what Miriam presented it, right? She said that we want to go into the latest stack and latest technology. Having said that, if you have a Marketing Cloud engagement or the Exact Target platform, right, that itself is a product, it's a platform which we could also use to trigger similar kind of a or achieve this similar kind of a use case. So it's not that we basically just want to limit to a specific product. We absolutely need to look into what's available in our shelf, right, and then look into what additional which we need to have this to make it more scalable solution.
All right, so I'm seeing a couple of questions come in here. So can customer service incident management be used to implement this use case from Manimaran? I think so. I think that is what I'm proposing, right? So this is above and beyond, let's say, the typical Service Cloud case management, bringing in that incident management to manage like the high scale outage notification situation. And then there is a question here, which I think is an awesome suggestion. Can we have a session to discuss the life cycle of an architect, typically in a project, expectations from the architect in each phase, expected inputs and outputs in those phases? And Sally, thank you so much for your, for your active engagement and asking all of these questions. I'm definitely up for it. If other people also want it, please let us know, either in the comments or in the feedback.
That sounds like that could be a good panel session.
That's a good idea. I like that. And so on that same topic, let's pick one more, right? This is, what is the output from the high-level design phase? Is it slides? Is it diagrams, Q&A questions, more workshop sessions? And I think the answer is going to be, it depends.
It depends.
Yes, it depends on your customer. It depends on your engagement, right? I think
and the audience too. I mean, like, yes. I've been on engagements where somebody wants the 80-page high-level solution design. I don't like writing them, but because I don't think a lot of people read 80 pages. But you know, some places I go into an organization and they already kind of have like how to present to their stakeholders, and so that could be a slide. It could be it could just be a cocktail napkin, depending on, those are the cool ones, I think. But you know, definitely some sort of formalized document to hand off and to reference back is a great idea.
Yep. I agree there. Let me see a couple more here. What best practices do you recommend for assessing readiness when extending incident management across multiple clouds? Parmit, I'm not entirely sure. I would say that from a process perspective, it would be understanding, you know, how to route the incident to the right team, like what kind of channels would be there available for intake. I don't necessarily feel that it's that important that it's across multiple clouds per se, as long as we're able to kind of capture that something has happened, that there is an incident, and then kind of send that message across to the org where the incident management is living. So if that is not answering your question, please follow up in the chat. I'll try to get you a better one. And then I think, let me see if there's any more. I have some comments. There seemed to be general agreement on doing an episode on the life cycle of an architect. So I'm super excited about that. I could talk about that forever and ever. I'm also loving, I have to say, thank you all for being supportive of each other in the comments and answering each other's questions. It's really so good to see. I see Vasil is agreeing that sometimes consultancies push people that are available rather than people with the right skills. Yeah, there's not a lot that I can do about that from here, but I do recognize that. So it can be tough. I do think one thing, and there is a comment here also around, you know, how difficult it is to have that breadth of knowledge as an architect, and totally recognizing that as well. And as you can see, because this was an episode covering so many clouds, I brought in 2 experts, right? And that is not, that's also supposed to be illustrative as an architect. On the one hand, you develop your skills, you try to learn more. And on the other hand, you're also aware of where you don't know what you should know, perhaps. And then you bring in experts, right, to supplement that knowledge. So I think with that, let me just bring you back to the slide where you can share your feedback. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you, Kunal. It's really good to have you here.
Always fun.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you, everybody, for the interactivity and interaction. And don't forget to share your feedback. Tell us what kind of topics you would like to see on future episodes. We do listen. We'll make it happen. And have a great rest of your day wherever you are.